Okay. Because
Good
this,
day, podcast community. We are in for a special treat today. Kendall, we've been going back and forth trying to get her schedule together. She's flying all over the country, landing and going to her store. And I just wanted to thank her for putting us on the schedule so we can introduce Kendall to our community. So, Kendall, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
okay. So like Coach said, Coach Pete, coach and podcaster. I just saw that. I like that. I think everybody is a coach in one sense or another,
I
right?
too. I agree. I
I mean,
agree. I love
everybody
it.
should be labeled as a coach. If you think about it, we
Yes.
all have different areas of our life that we coach, essentially.
Yes.
But I I got into the fitness space. Really, I want to say deeply about 7 years ago. I've been an athlete my entire life. Um, Went to Kennesaw State, graduated from Kennesaw State with a background in health and wellness.
Mhm.
Joined a sorority, got off track, got kind of just, caught up in the college life. I realized that really I was enjoying too much. And when I was
Mhm.
enjoying too much, I would be waking up sometimes at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the day is over.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to change and I really wanted to push. And I found essentially bodybuilding. When I
Okay.
found bodybuilding, it gave me something to reach towards. Bodybuilding is small, so not a lot of people know about really the day to day tasks that go on. But just in a nutshell, with eating around the clock, the strength training, it's very timely. So that, in a sense, kind of put me on a schedule to kind of just get to where I needed to go. I ended up linking up with my business partner, Charles Thornton. And he's like, let's open up a gym. Let's open up a small gym.
Mhm.
So 4 years ago, going on 5 years ago, that's how Thor Strength Fitness kind of came along. My business partner is a professional bodybuilder, and a great ton of knowledge really just on the functional side of health. There's a lot of times we see doctors just prescribe, and really medications are just that. They're made to keep you on medications,
Yep.
and we don't believe that from a holistic standpoint. So as we kind of got more into the gym, we realized that there was a recovery side that was needed. And when we say recovery, yes, we do mean stretching and the cryotherapy that we do, the compression
Mhm.
boots. And really a lot of those are really targeted towards our athletes, or really athletes that overperform, really like stress the body. They're in the gym 5 to 6 times a week. They need this recovery routine. So within doing that, we saw the need to fix the body from the inside out.
Mhm.
We started really putting things in place to get blood work panel done,
Mhm.
nutrition in line. We've always offered nutrition at the studio, but this has kind of just helped us kind of catapult that forward. So the
Let me
recovery
stop.
center, yes.
Because I know you. I know the store. Tell our viewers, where you are now, like the recovery center, and then
Okay.
I want them to. I'd love to talk about more of that discipline that you brought up just a minute ago, because
Right.
it is critical for everything we do is to have
Absolutely.
that in our life. So
Absolutely.
where are you currently serving the Kennesaw area in the recovery
So
space?
So we are at 1635 Old Highway 41,
Okay.
literally nestled right in between Capers Restaurant, which everybody knows of. That's been there since 2004. And then Publix on the other side. That's a frequent Publix that everyone kind of uses. So we're right inside there. And really, our services, what I do today is exactly what I love doing today: the
Okay.
nutrition, the blood work, We also we administer the B12 shots, the IVs. Everybody is going
Hmm.
peptide crazy on the GLP-1s and everything else. There's a right and wrong way to do these things. And I like to really be there for somebody in administering and kind of just getting them through what they need to do. So recovery center, right there in Kennesaw. That's where we are.
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
I love it because we talked before we got on the air about being independent and really carving your own path. I remember when it opened up, there was paper on the windows, and
Oh
I
yeah,
saw the sign. I was going, man, come on! But it seemed like it was a longer than expected in my mind.
absolutely.
So, viewers, like I had a coffee guy on, and it was a year before one of his shops opened up,
Oh,
and
that's us.
he was paying rent on it for 10 months, and those kind of things happen. So give our viewers an idea of you make that decision, you sign the lease, you move
Hmm.
forward. What was that like going through the process of opening up the store?
So we just opened December 2024. We signed the
Okay.
lease in January 2024. So we had a 11-month hold off from permits to buildings to just certifications. One of the services that we offer is cryotherapy. So there's liquid nitrogen that's involved with that. They had to make sure that the ceilings were high enough to let the nitrogen kind of exhaust itself. If anybody knows anything
Hmm.
about nitrogen, it falls. So number one, let's try to explain that to the city is like, we are in fitness, but it's medical
Yeah.
nitrogen. Nitrogen doesn't rise, it falls. So going back and forth through the city just with these little things, we thought it was going to be an easy, open process. Like I said, we signed the lease January 6th, 2024. We were cleared from the city, the fire department, and the leasing office the end of January. So we were essentially paying months. We were paying for 11 months without being open, just going back and forth through the permitting process.
Did you,
So,
when you signed that lease, what was in your all's mind about how long you thought it was going to open up? Like, did you think 3 months, 4 months, 6 months? What did you guys plan for? And then what we know what happened.
so we thought it was going to be a couple weeks. Why? Because we had the same. I mean, if you think about it, we opened up the gym. The gym permitting was so easy. We didn't build any walls. So we signed the lease for the gym. The gym was maybe open within 45 days of us signing everything. So
Wow.
we didn't think doing this, we built four tiny rooms that obviously needed to be sectioned off, kind of like a clinic.
Hmm.
They had to come out. They had a separate building department. They had a separate. I essentially thought I said, "Oh, we're going to call Carlos today. We're going to have the sign on the building because we've already went through the process once before, right? So
Yeah.
we're like, we're
Right.
familiar with this. A year, a year,
Wow.
and we're still not there.
So what did that do for the challenge of cash flow? Because I had a good friend on, and he explained it was stressful because you're expecting one thing and you have your projections, but business is not like a straight line of, hey, this
Business
happens
is
and it just
never business is never
happens.
linear. It's never linear.
Unexpected. So how did y'all handle that challenge as you were, getting ready to open up and the pressure's on to get everything done, get the patients
So
in the
to be completely honest, and we just had this conversation the other day, Charles and I.
Mhm,
When we first started, when the stuff hit the fan, the first
mhm,
thing, I looked at him and I said, "Did I make a mistake?" Because
mm,
essentially, we're opening a second business. Did we really need one? No. The gym is located within the same shopping center as Capers and everything. So really, we could have just kind of built everything that we needed to right out of that one studio. But it was my idea to kind of have a smaller facility and a clinic. So I felt the pressure was on me, really. Did I make
mhm.
a mistake? Did I really make a mistake in the direction that I'm going towards? Not only that, our sign just got put on the building last week. So we just had our sign installed. So we've been, nope, you're familiar with where the old dry cleaners was.
Mhm.
Nobody knows that there's anything that lies in between Capers and Publix. So really what's been keeping us alive for this last year has been word of mouth and really referrals.
Mhm.
And I think that's awesome because that kind of shows and gives credit to the type of work that we provide our
Yeah,
clients,
absolutely.
because we have not really seen or felt anything. In the beginning, it was scary. In the beginning, it was scary. Paying rent without anything coming in and no permits. But once we opened, word of mouth has seemed to really take us and really kind of hold us and keep us where we needed to be. But 11 months paying rent without opening. And last week, the recovery center just had their sign placed on the building. So other than that, the phone really doesn't ring unless we know somebody.
Yeah.
Since the sign has been on the building, the phone calls have now started to come on because people know that we're there. So if you think about it, it's really been a year and a half since we've opened, I guess you can say. Nobody knows that we're there. I had a guy that called the other day and he said, "How long have you guys been located over here? I've been looking for something like this." And I'm like, December 2024. But nobody knows because the building
Yeah.
didn't have the signs. So it's
I
hard.
love it that your last name is Capers and you're right next to Capers.
Yes.
So
And I always
that's
say
cool.
I at least earn a burger every once a week. That could be my stocks within
Yeah.
the company. So
Why don't you share with our viewers? Because I've had some gym people on, and this was a couple years ago, but the fueling of the body, gym people understand that. The
right.
average person doesn't necessarily put that connection to what we put in our body, is trash in, trash out.
Oh my God.
So, like when you started bodybuilding,
Mhm.
was it like a shock how important the fueling of the body, when, how, and all that? How did you adapt to that discipline and that change within just your understanding of the body?
So the reason why I do love bodybuilding is because it has catapulted so many different levels in my life.
Hmm.
Not only does the sport teach you grit, and I feel like it pours out into every aspect of your life, but what I do is on the extreme side. I've been able to learn these extreme teachings and really pour them into my lifestyle clients by dialing them back.
Hmm.
When I first got into bodybuilding, I found out that I was severely under eating. Everybody always looks at a bodybuilder and they're like, "Man, you guys must starve, you guys must, you're ripped, you guys." And it's really quite the opposite. 9 times out of 10, when I start with a new client, the easiest fix is making them eat more food. Are they scared? Absolutely. Absolutely. You get a woman that comes in and she's like, "Kendall, I'm doing an hour of cardio. I'm eating 1,200 calories. My steps are at this. I'm not losing weight." Well, the reason why is because your body's under stress. And one of my favorite analogies, like I like to give, is the body is a very, very smart machine and it will really program what you tell it to do. For
Hmm.
somebody that's used to eating once a day, your body's almost kind of looking at that as you're in a starvation type. So it's going to grab the food and it's going to hold on to it. She's not going to feed me anymore. Oh, here comes another food. She's going to grab me, not knowing when that food is. Opposed to somebody like myself, I eat 4 to 5 times a day. You would say they're small meals, but they're not really small meals. Anywhere from 300 to 400 calories right now because I'm in a deficit for a bodybuilding show.
Hmm.
But with me eating 5 times a day, the body grabs it and oh, she's going to feed me again. It disposes of it.
Hmm.
Grab it. She's
Interesting.
going to feed me again. It's going to dispose of it. That's what you call a healthy metabolism.
Mhm.
Somebody that's eating once a day, that it gets that food and the body is smart. You're going to starve me. So I'm going to hold on to this. Um, and 9 times out of 10, and I tell everybody all the time, when I take a look at blood work, when I take a look at just really strength training protocols and programs, nutrition. I love when I just see those calories so low, because on the inside, I'm like, I'm going to change their life just from bumping up their food. So it's, there's enjoyment in every piece of this, but um, nutrition is usually the number one key in what we see that's lagging.
What would you say for a non-gym fitness person that wants to start eating healthier? Is there anything that you could share with our community of just some helpful tips that you could pass on
Yeah,
to?
absolutely. My number one helpful tip will be steps. Movement is key. And I don't mean hopping on a piece of cardio equipment. Outside walking is one of the most underrated exercises for cardiovascular health. Um, 8 to 10,000 steps a day is great. If you can get anywhere close to 8, that's even better. You getting on the cardio machine is not going to equate to those steps that you do every day, unless you're following a program. So let me not say that, unless you're following a certain type of program. But you'd be surprised what parking further away at the grocery store does. Taking that loop around the outside wall of the departments translate into these lifestyle changes. The whole purpose of making a lifestyle change is really so you don't feel like you have to get up and do oh God, I got to get up and go get on this cardio machine. I have to get up and go. You don't want to feel like that. You want these things to kind of fit into your lifestyle to where you don't feel like it's strenuous. So steps is definitely number one. Water is definitely next. The more hydrated the body is, the better. Toxins, diseases. The only thing water does is flush. I like to aim for a gallon a day. I like to tell everybody 80 to 100 ounces, you're doing great. And you'll start to realize after a while, with you being consistent with that number, your body's actually going to start to crave that. So steps would be number one, water would be number two, and definitely nutrition is key for anything that you're starting. Anything. Strength training, body composition, lose weight, gain weight. Nutrition is going to be the key, not the gym. Not the gym. So
used to live right up the street from you at Overture, and I was on the fourth floor, so I would go to the gym on the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, a PT guy moved beside me, and he goes, and I was walking with a brace at the time, and he said, like, how do you get down to the gym? And I said, well, I get on the elevator. He goes, why don't you try the stairs? And I was going like, okay. And for the next year and a half, I did 4 flights of stairs, up and down, up and down. But I got lulled into the convenience
Absolutely.
of just thinking that the elevator's there.
Absolutely.
I got to use it. But I mean, it totally
that translates to so much over a week's time. So if you did that 5 times a week, so now your body is, even you just going up and down the steps, and I'm playing with numbers here, that could be an extra 50 calories burned a day. Over the course of that week, that's an extra 300 calories a week. Over the course of a year, it's little tiny micro steps like that make huge differences. And like I said, one of my favorites is I park in the back, I walk, and at the end of the day, everyone's always, how do you get 15,000 steps a day? I get 15,000 steps a day, and I don't even realize I'm getting 15,000 steps because it's a lifestyle thing now.
Exactly.
Parking closer to the door is not appeasing to me. I like my night walks, and just, you have to find what works for you. 15,000 steps may not work for you. You may look at me and say, oh no, that's crazy. And that's fine. But you do have to find what does work for you and make it a lifestyle change.
I love that. So, I want our viewers to kind of grasp that, because we think we got to make these drastic changes. And when these drastic changes come up, they're such shocking to our behavior that we don't continue. But parking further away. Look at your spots at Publix. All the spots that are taken are closest to the
No, that's the
door.
truth.
I can tell you, take the road less traveled, go farther away and
Right.
walk. What would you say?
The
Because
hardest thing. That's the hardest thing to teach anyone.
yeah, it is. What do you think? Because I gave up sugar and
Okay.
I gave up alcohol. I tried coffee for 30 days, giving up just to try this
Not a
different
coffee
things.
drinker.
I am
Okay.
now. No, I just wanted to see, see what my body would 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 how it would react. Now I don't very little sugar into my morning routine. I drink water immediately. I drink a lot. I journal first thing in the morning. I think, I meditate. All these are things I started that I never
Right.
did before. What's your morning routine like? I know you're not getting up at 2 or 3 o'clock like you did at
Absolutely
school.
not.
So tell our viewers, like, what is it like for you and your how you get going in the morning?
First and foremost, coffee.
Mhm.
Coffee is that starts my day. Um, when I first get up in the morning, and I'm so routine and even when I'm on vacation, I find myself doing the same thing. So this is what I do. I wake up in the morning. It's usually 8 ounces of water because this sits on my nightstand. 8 ounces of water, my vitamins. I'm making my coffee, and then I'm out for my morning walk. I don't care for cardio machines, especially when I'm not prepping for a bodybuilding show because we're already on them so much. So I almost creaking outside is one of the best exercises for me, not only physically but mentally too. Um, there's something about just becoming one with nature in the morning. It's you, your thoughts, and your cup of coffee. What, and it's free. What better combination is that? So I think I've kind of become addicted to that in a sense.
Mhm.
And I crave it every single morning. So as soon as I get up, and I'm almost stickler about it, like if it doesn't happen in the way that it's supposed to happen, like if I get a phone call before that, I'm kind of thrown off. And but I think those times in the morning of really developing a morning routine is necessary.
Mhm.
Um, it sets up the rest of your day. Um,
No, I totally agree with you.
you gotta ground yourself.
Yeah, I don't do this because just since my stroke, I have a more difficult time walking distances. Matter of fact, I was walking up at Overture after dinner every evening. I was just like zigzagging, and I'd come back and I'd be mentally just exhausted
Right.
because I have to think about every step. So I called a friend of mine who's a health and fitness coach, and I said, "Hey, give me your thoughts on this." And I told her what I was doing. So she's not a neuro person, so she called a friend of hers, and she had me do some. It's kind of like, as she explained, if you're going in the wrong direction and you go faster, you're still going to get lost. So for
Right.
me, at my stage, get back into PT, back into
Hmm.
OT, and she said intensity matters.
Right.
Nobody in my other 5 PTs I went to, nobody ever explained to me the
Right.
intent. I'm barbells up. I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and I'm spent when I walk out there.
Right.
But it
Right.
was just somebody professionally really,
Right. No,
breathing
and that's
into me and saying, "Yeah, this is what you need to do." So, do you do as a business owner? There's a lot of things going on. Do you have any habits that you could share with our viewers? Like, do you journal? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Are there things that you do that prepare you for the day, which is always very hectic
right.
as a
Oh
business?
my God. I met with another business owner the other day, and he was sitting there. His phone rang 3 times. He had to step outside. And I said, well, thank you. You at least make me feel normal. Because I always, once the day gets started, I'm always, and I really say my morning walks those are my habits.
Really?
Because that's how I talk to myself in the morning before I have a chance to really talk to anybody else. Prayer is obviously something that I do. And how I like to explain it is you really have to pour into yourself before you pour into others,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So my morning walks, I'm pouring into myself. You can do this today. Yes, yesterday was hard, but today is a new day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's new hurdles that come, but you at the end of the day, you have to be thankful for these hurdles. You are fortunate to feel the stresses of owning a business. You know, you really have to kind of rechange your verbiage um, in just how you view things so that you really set yourself up for a better outcome. Um, when we were going through the permitting process, I used to always be like, why me? Why me? Why me? And really, at the end of the day, it's why not me? Do you know how many people would want to feel the stress of what you're feeling owning a business?
I agree.
They're feeling the stress of running someone else's business. So you're feeling the stress of your own. Why not you? Why don't you look at that as that stress is a fortunate thing to feel? So in the morning, those are usually my walk is what I usually get myself ready to really pour into my clients. And a big part about fitness, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, it's all mental. It's all mental. If you're not up here, you're really dead before you even start.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it is that you're doing. You know, if a diet seems too hard, why? It's because you're telling yourself that it's too
Mm-hmm.
hard. There's nothing you can't do. Um, can you not walk up that hill? If you don't have any legs, yeah, absolutely, you can't walk up that. And these approaches don't have to be to the max. Like you said, you got inside the gym, you worked out crazy and stuff. There's a lot of times that I find I have to dial back people's training because they're training too much. There's a time I have to take up people's training, like, okay, you lifting 5-pound dumbbells like this is not going to get us results. You know, you got to pick it up. So really, it's all about puzzle piecing and working with that individual. And me setting myself up in the morning allows me to really get my clients going. So that morning walk is everything.
I love it. I love it. Do you find yourself, because I haven't done this yet, but you take off your shoes and you ground yourself in the grass. Do you do any of that before you walk or after you walk? Is there anything like that that you've incorporated that's given you something that, I like that you said connecting to nature.
Mm-hmm. So what's really funny is I have a girlfriend who's really into all of those crystals, and I don't even know how to explain them, so I could be explaining this completely wrong. But there was a gentleman that, as soon as me and my husband moved into our neighborhood, he would walk around with a book every morning and no shoes on. So when I first drove past him, I said, "Oh my!" And I called my husband. I got on the phone. I said, "There's a guy out here, and he's walking around." And I mean, he had on like these. Didn't look homeless, not homeless at all.
Yeah.
He is just so focused, never looked up at the car, never anything. And I used to leave at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning for personal training clients.
Yeah.
And the more and more I got into it, and I told my one girlfriend about it, that she goes outside every day and she steps in the grass and she grounds herself. I was like, I gotta take a shower. I have to. And the more and more I read about it, it's very interesting. Do I do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, I'm not but I think there's different ways of grounding yourself.
Yeah, I do too. I have the advantage of having hundreds of guests on, and I love to just ask certain things, mainly for my curiosity,
right.
because I'll hear it from somebody, and then I'll just kind of go a little bit further to do my own personal research. So our community is a very giving and impactful community. Can you share with our community what's your vision of, like, where do you see yourself going? I love how you've gone into the
Mhm.
recovery space because I totally agree with it. What could you share with our viewers of Kendall's vision of where she wants to
My
go?
vision for the recovery center or my vision for my
Yeah, life vision center. What do you see yourself? I mean, I see you as a very motivated person, and we don't get motivation; we get it from
absolutely.
within, and we have to have that vision of what we want to go. What does the Bible say? Without a vision, a
Right.
person will perish. So, like, give us an idea or share with our community. What is Kendall's vision like? What gets you up, get you going, get you working, get you lifting weights, get you all these things.
Really, it's I
What's your
have to say, it's really the results of my clients. Um,
Mhm.
I had to get to a point to where when I take on a client, I now interview them. When I first started, I didn't do that. I have to
Mhm.
make sure it's a good fit for both the client and I. Being clients, yes, I can do you this. Yes, I can get you results. But really, at the end of the day, our goals have to align, right? Um,
Yes.
so I would say I in 4 or 5 years, I really don't like to put a timestamp on it because I've kind of excelled already what my goals were to do in 10 years. Um, but I like to be traveling the world by then. And I mean, let's just, I know I will be traveling the world by then, speaking exactly how I am now on health and wellness and speaking really mainly to, I do coach men, but it's really the women. Um, I see myself really as a big woman that's going to be monumental in fitness. And my business is just going to follow right behind me. Um, and I don't think there's any doubt that that will happen.
I don't doubt it one bit either. And we had some conversations, but I just had a gut feeling, just in the little bit of time I had before we came on the podcast, that what your mindset was going to be like, because it's you just have a gut feeling. So I want you to share with our viewers, like, how can they contact Kendall, and what can they do to serve you in our community? What would be the
So I'm very good with emails. I'm not what do they call it? Generation Z, Generation X. I'm in my own generation of my own, right? So um, I'm definitely a person that likes to go back and review. What did I talk to this person about? What did I I'm in fitness, so I like stats, right? So email threads always work for me. Phone calls are definitely accepted. You can reach us at, I see you have the number below, 678-372-6525. That is my direct work contact number. A lot of people are old school. They like the phone. They like coming in person. The best thing I like to do, I do like to sit down one on one and really get a feel for somebody. And um, with the pandemic, the screens have made it easier, but sometimes it's nothing like that one on one contact. So I like to tell everybody, shoot me an email, let me know what your goals are. And we really can kind of just go from there with scheduling, having you come into the clinic and really kind of puzzle piecing where we need to go from here. There's a lot of times I save a lot of people's steps. People are always shocked when they reach out to me and they tell me, so you're telling me not to purchase from you? Absolutely. I'm telling you to save your money. That is not what you need. What you need to do is just bump up this, bump up that. And really, I feel like that has poured right back into my business. I can be greedy and tell you, yes, you need to be on this, you need to be on that, you need to pay me for coaching, but that's not really where my heart lies. I want to help people. And the more I help people, the more fruitful my business and really I've become. So the best way is always just send me an email, let me know exactly what you're trying to do, and we'll kind of go from there with scheduling, especially with some of our services because we have RNs that are on staff sometimes and that are not on staff. So
Oh,
email is best.
I love it. So as what would be the one thing you would want to leave with our viewers from our podcast, our time on this podcast?
Whatever you're doing in life, trust the process. But the process will only work as much as you do. The process will only work as much as you do. You cannot put something in place and expect it to work out if you're not putting work behind it. I want to build this, but I'm going to sit next to what I want to build. That's just not going to work.
Yeah, it's so good.
Faith with works. So, and work at it. Everything will come. It's really all God's timing, right? We just can't see it. Successful people are successful because they don't give up, not because they're anything special.
Totally agree. I love it.
Really, the crazy people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this key 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Well, we already know that key doesn't work to that lock. Guess what? They got that lock open.
Yes.
Don't give up in whatever you do.
So wise. Thank you so much, Khendal. We appreciate you being with our community, and thanks for in between your competing that you could share your story with our community.